Hi, I'm Moosejaw Matt. I'd like to give some free advertising to Discovery Mountain. If you haven't listened to or heard of Discovery Mountain yet, it's a drama series with character-building stories that help inspire faith. I am the voice for the character Ken in the latest season, Season 20. Search for Discovery Mountain. I believe you'll enjoy their stories. Now I'd like to thank our supporters, leaving reviews, sharing, listening, or giving a monthly donation to help pay for the boring behind-the-scenes technicals. All make a difference. It all makes a difference. If you would like to give to help support this podcast, look for a link in the episode notes or go to patreon.com and search for Nature and Science for Kids. The tiers are all new. They've been updated. And one of the tiers features a large photo of a sleeping fox pup taken by me, Moosejaw Matt, from a trip to Nova Scotia. So go ahead, check out the different ways you can make a difference on this podcast, and thank you to those who already have. We appreciate our supporters. I'm out here at night, and do you know what's joined me? Whoa, calm down. It's just a bat. What are you freaking out about?
They suck your blood!
I think you've been watching movies that are not true. What I can do is share with you some more accurate bat facts. First, bats ain't no fools. Some people thought bats could only detect moving insects. No, that's not the correct sound effect. That's better. Who's in charge of these sound effects anyway? So, as I was saying, some people thought bats could only detect moving insects. Some moths do hold perfectly still when they hear a bat coming. However, big-eared bats in South America are unconvinced. Studies have shown that they can detect sleeping dragonflies that are perfectly still. In about 3 seconds, they can determine if the target is edible. That means within 3 seconds, they can find out and decide if the target is eatable. This all seems so strange, even impossible. How can a bat's echolocation be sensitive enough to determine different shapes? And in a dense jungle setting? But the common big-eared bat does it anyway. Before we go on any more, echolocation is basically sending out a sound, having it bounce off of something like an echo, and as it comes back, you hear the sound again a little bit later. So bats use this. Humans don't really use it on their own exactly. However, if you've ever had your eyes closed, or you were in a spot where you could not see, and you were walking, and all of a sudden you heard sounds differently, you might recognize that you're by a wall, or something else is around you. That's kind of like echolocation, but bats are much, much better at it than we are. I can actually imagine myself putting fake dragonflies around the jungle just to see what the bats would do. Would you do that? If you think that sounds like a fun idea, maybe you should consider becoming a science researcher, because that's exactly what they did. Researchers tested the bats by putting out fake dragonflies made of paper and tin foil. Can you imagine making origami dragonflies and calling it research? Well, that's what the scientists did. And what do you think the bats did? The bats were interested in the fake dragonflies, but didn't bite them. They can not only tell if there's an insect resting on a branch, but tell different materials apart.
Wow, that's impressive.
But wait, there's more.
That's not funny.
All seriousness aside, though, there's a lot more to these winged mammals. By the way, they are the only winged mammals on the planet. Some bats eat not only insects, but fruits. So, how can they find fruit in the dark? Scientists assumed it was using their snouts. That's aka funny word for noses. But glossophagan bats can distinguish between plants. As someone else said, The echoes created by plants are highly complex signals, combining together all the reflections from the many leaves that a plant contains. So, it's very difficult. But these bats have no issues finding flowers and fruit. Some plants even have leaves shaped to attract bats. Let's talk about bats' ultrasonic sounds that they make. Ultrasonic is made up of two words, ultra, which means extreme, and sonic, which means sound. So these are extreme sounds so high that we cannot hear them. There is a lot to be heard higher and lower than we are able to hear. Bats can make sounds higher than we can hear.
Much higher.
We can hear from about 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Most bats can chirp in a range from 12, which we can still hear, but all the way up to 160 kilohertz. That's about 8 times higher than we can hear. But wait, there's more. Apparently, the clear-winged woolly bat, it's a real thing, makes one of the highest pitched sounds of any animal in the world, if not the highest. Their range starts, this is their lowest, at a whopping 235 kilohertz. That's really high.
Way, way, way higher.
And it goes up to 250. Remember, we can only hear up to 20 kilohertz. That's
super high.
And this goes, they start at 230 kilohertz. We can't even come close to hearing their lowest notes. Not even close. Not only can bats make high-pitched sounds, but they have amazing ears too. At Virginia Tech, they found that bats' ears can change shapes to better hear different sounds. Now, they're not changing from like the shape of a taco to a Ferrari. They're just changing slight directions and moving them a little bit. Now, that sounds cool, but they can do it in about 1/10 of a second, 3 times faster than it takes you to blink. That's not enough awesomeness for God's creatures. They can also process multiple overlapping echoes with wavelengths arriving just 2 millionths of a second apart, and they can tell the difference between objects only 0.3 millimeters apart. That's about the width of a human hair. That is so amazing, I hardly even know what it all means. But their hearing abilities are hard to even study, let alone understand. They are hearing in ways we cannot even imagine. That's putting it mildly. Not all bats use vocalizations for echolocation. Vocalizations has to do with your voice and vocals. So just imagine a bat going around singing. They don't do that, but just imagine it anyway. It's funny. Funnier the more you think about it. Some fruit bats, guess what they eat? Tacos. No, just kidding. Taco bats. So some fruit bats cannot make the same sounds as most other bats for echolocation. So what do? They use their wings to clap. Scientists wanted to be certain the bats weren't making those sounds with their mouths, so they even sealed the bats' mouths. I fail to see how that was the best use of research funds, sealing the bats' mouths shut. But anyway, finally, some bats hunt fish. How in the world can a bat hunt for fish? Echolocation doesn't go through water. It just bounces off like hitting a wall. So how exactly? It's like us looking at a wall in a way. We cannot see through it. Well, their echolocation is so sensitive that they can detect ripples on the surface caused by the fish underneath. So they don't see the fish, but they can see the effects of it, and somehow they understand that there's a fish beneath the surface. They go fishing by reading the troughs and peaks of the water with sound. So astounding. I learned things I never knew about bats, and I hope you did too. I'm enjoying learning with you. Friends, the world we live in is constantly leaving me in awe. The natural world, that is. The more I learn, the more humbled I am that I even get to be alive. What a loving God to create such wondrous things, and He cares about you. His hearing is better than a bat's hearing. When you pray, somehow, He hears you. Just like a bat can detect fish beneath the surface of water even though it cannot see it, so God knows the prayers of our hearts, even if we don't speak the words. He is so eager to hear from you. Talk with Him right now. The Bible says, "Cast all your cares on Him, because He cares for you." Listeners, I'd like to remind us all, please share how you've been exploring your world, and I'll feature it on an upcoming episode. You can record your voice and send in the audio recording, or simply share on our Facebook page, or our website, moosejawmatt.com. Now it's time for our mystery sound. What does that sound like to you? Thank you for learning with me. I'm Moosejaw Matt. Until next time, keep exploring your world